Yellow leaves. You've seen them before. Maybe you're looking at one right now, wondering what you did wrong. And here's what almost every gardener does the moment they spot it. They stop watering. They figure the roots must be drowning, so they let the soil dry out, wait a few more days between waterings, and hope the yellow fades back to green. But what if that's the exact wrong move? Picture this. You've been gardening for years. You know your plants. You water on a schedule, you check the soil before you water again, you feel for moisture like you always have. And still, every few weeks, another leaf turns pale, then yellow, then drops off entirely. So you cut back on water even more. The yellowing keeps showing up anyway. That's not a black thumb. That's not a plant being difficult. That's the wrong diagnosis, repeated over and over, season after season. Today we're breaking down yellow leaves, what's really causing them, and why cut back on water barely ever solves the problem. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which of 5 hidden causes is behind your plant's yellowing, and it's probably not the one you've been blaming all along. Let's get into it. So why does everyone jump straight to overwatering? Because it's the story we've all heard 100 times. Yellow leaves, soggy roots, root rot. That's the warning we grew up hearing at every garden club meeting and every plant tag at the nursery. It's become the default explanation before anyone even looks closer. And sure, overwatering can cause yellowing. Nobody's saying it never happens. But here's what almost nobody tells you. Overwatering is just one possible cause out of many, and treating every yellow leaf as a watering problem means you're guessing right maybe 1 time out of 5. The other 4 times, you're making the real problem worse while you wait for a fix that was never going to work. Here's the part that trips people up the most. By the time a leaf has visibly yellowed, the underlying issue has usually been building for 1 to 3 weeks already. Yellowing is a delayed signal, not an instant one. So when you change your watering habit today and the yellow leaves don't improve tomorrow, that doesn't mean your new habit is wrong. It might mean you never had a watering problem to begin with. That's exactly why so many longtime gardeners get frustrated, cut back on water, watch new leaves come in yellow anyway, and start to wonder if they're simply losing their touch with plants they've grown successfully for decades. They haven't lost anything. They've just been solving the wrong equation. Truth number 1, nitrogen deficiency, and it shows up in a very specific pattern once you know what to look for. Nitrogen is one of the 3 big nutrients every plant needs in large amounts, right alongside phosphorus and potassium. It's the nutrient most responsible for that rich, deep green color in foliage. When a plant doesn't have enough nitrogen available in the soil, it does something clever and a little heartbreaking at the same time. It pulls nitrogen out of its own older, lower leaves and redirects it up to the new growth at the top, because new growth matters more for the plant's survival. That's why nitrogen deficiency almost always shows up first on the oldest, lowest leaves of the plant, while the newest leaves at the top stay green and healthy looking for a while longer. If you see yellowing concentrated at the bottom of the plant while the top looks fine, that's your strongest clue. The color itself tends to be a uniform, pale, washed out yellow across the whole leaf. Not blotchy, not veiny, just an overall fade like the color got diluted. Eventually, those lower leaves drop off entirely, and if nothing changes, the yellowing marches its way up the plant 1 layer at a time. The fix here isn't complicated, but it does take patience. A balanced fertilizer, or one slightly higher in nitrogen for leafy plants like lettuce, spinach, or foliage houseplants, applied at half the label strength every few weeks during the growing season, usually turns things around within 3 to 4 weeks. For container plants and raised beds, a slow-release granular fertilizer worked into the top inch of soil is often easier to manage than remembering a liquid feeding schedule. For plants already showing heavy yellowing, a diluted liquid fertilizer gets nutrients to the roots faster than a granular one, since granular feeds need moisture and time to break down. Here's a real scenario a lot of you will recognize. A gardener has grown tomatoes in the same raised bed for going on 15 years. Every summer, like clockwork, the lower leaves start yellowing around the time the first fruits set. They assume it's normal aging, or maybe blight, and they pull the yellow leaves off to tidy the plant up. The fruit production still slows down every year around the same time. What's actually happening is that heavy fruit production pulls a tremendous amount of nitrogen out of the soil right when the plant needs it most, and 15 years of the same soil without a serious nutrient refresh has left very little reserve to draw from. A simple soil test would have caught this years ago. Once they started side dressing with a balanced fertilizer right as flowering began, the lower leaves stayed green through the whole season, and the harvest actually improved. Nitrogen deficiency explains a lot of yellowing, especially in vegetable gardens and heavy feeders. But it doesn't explain everything, because some plants yellow even when the nitrogen level in the soil is perfectly fine. Truth number 2, and this one surprises a lot of experienced gardeners: iron deficiency, and it hides in a pattern almost the exact opposite of nitrogen deficiency. Iron is what's called a micronutrient, meaning plants only need small amounts of it, but that small amount is essential for producing chlorophyll, the green pigment that does the actual work of photosynthesis. When a plant can't access enough iron, the newest leaves at the top of the plant turn yellow first, while the veins of those same leaves often stay a distinct, visible green. That green-veined, yellow between the veins look has a name: intervenal chlorosis, and once you've seen it, you'll never mistake it for anything else again. Here's the part that confuses people the most. Plenty of soils actually have plenty of iron in them. The real problem is usually soil pH. Iron becomes chemically locked up and unavailable to plant roots when soil pH climbs above about 7.0 into alkaline territory. This is incredibly common in areas with naturally alkaline soil, near concrete foundations and sidewalks where lime leaches out over years, and in gardens where wood ash or lime has been applied heavily. Plants like azaleas, rhododendrons, blueberries, hydrangeas, and citrus trees are especially sensitive to this, which is why you'll often see gardeners in certain neighborhoods fighting yellow new growth on their acid-loving shrubs year after year without understanding why. The fix starts with a simple soil pH test, the kind you can pick up inexpensively at almost any garden center or hardware store. If your soil is testing above 7.0 for a plant that prefers acidic conditions, working in elemental sulfur, composted pine bark, or a soil acidifier gradually lowers the pH over a season or two. For faster, more visible relief, a chelated iron supplement applied directly to the soil or as a foliar spray gets iron into the plant even while the pH is still being corrected, and you'll often see new growth coming in green within 2 to 3 weeks. Just know that chelated iron treats the symptom quickly, while adjusting pH treats the actual cause for the long haul. Do both if you want lasting results instead of a yearly repeat performance. One more clue worth remembering: if the yellowing is happening on new growth with green veins clearly visible, and your plant is one of the acid-loving types, iron deficiency tied to soil pH should be the very first thing you check, well before you touch the watering can or reach for a general fertilizer. Nitrogen and iron cover a lot of ground, but there's a third cause that has nothing to do with what's in the soil at all. Truth number 3, the one most gardeners never think to check: light stress, and specifically sudden changes in light, not just too little of it. Every leaf on a plant is essentially calibrated to the light conditions it grew up in. A leaf that developed in bright, direct sun has a different internal structure than a leaf that developed in filtered shade. When conditions change suddenly, whether that's an indoor plant moved from a dim corner to a sunny windowsill, an outdoor perennial that gets a shade tree removed nearby, or a seedling that goes from a grow light straight into full outdoor sun without any transition period, the leaves that formed under the old conditions often can't handle the new ones. The chlorophyll in those leaves breaks down faster than the plant can replace it, and you get yellowing, sometimes with a bleached, washed-out look rather than the smooth fade you'd see from a nutrient issue. The reverse happens too. A plant moved from bright light into low light, like when houseplants come inside for winter, or when a patio gets a new umbrella or awning, may yellow and drop older leaves as it adjusts its overall leaf count downward to match the lower light it's now receiving. This is the plant essentially deciding it can't support as many leaves as it used to, so it sheds the ones it needs least, usually the oldest, most shaded leaves lower on the plant. Here's a fast way to tell if this is your cause. Think back over the last 2 to 4 weeks. Did anything about the plant's light change? Did you move it to a new room? Did the seasons shift enough that a window that used to be shaded is now getting hours of direct afternoon sun? Did a tree get trimmed or removed nearby? Did you finally repot that plant into a spot you'd been meaning to move it to for months? If the timing lines up, light stress deserves a serious look before anything else. The fix is almost always gradual transition rather than an abrupt one. If you're moving a plant into brighter conditions, do it in stages over 1 to 2 weeks, giving it a few hours of the new light at a time before extending the exposure. If a plant just went through an unavoidable sudden change, like a storm knocking down a shade tree overnight, there's not much you can do about the leaves that are already yellowing, but you can protect the plant going forward with temporary shade cloth or by moving containers to a less intense spot while the plant adjusts. Nitrogen, iron, and light. 3 separate causes, and none of them have a single thing to do with how much water you're giving the plant. Think about that for a second. 3 explanations in a row, and 0 of them are you didn't cut back on watering enough. That should make you pause the next time yellow leaves show up, and your first instinct is to let the soil dry out further. And just so you're fully covered, 2 more causes deserve a fast mention, because they come up often enough to matter. Pest damage, specifically from spider mites and aphids. These pests feed by piercing individual plant cells and drawing out the contents, and enough of that feeding over time produces a stippled, speckled yellowing across the leaf surface rather than a smooth, even fade. Spider mites are especially sneaky because they're nearly invisible to the naked eye. If you suspect them, hold a plain white sheet of paper under a yellowing leaf and tap the leaf firmly. If tiny specks fall onto the paper and start crawling, you've found your culprit. A strong spray of water on the underside of leaves, repeated every few days, along with insecticidal soap for a heavier infestation, usually clears things up within 2 to 3 weeks. Temperature shock is the other one, and it catches a lot of gardeners off guard because it feels unrelated to yellowing at first. A sudden cold snap, a plant left too close to an air conditioning vent, or a draft from a door that gets opened constantly in winter can all stress a plant enough to trigger yellowing, particularly in tropical houseplants that evolved in stable, warm environments. The fix is simply relocating the plant away from the temperature swing, and the yellowing usually stops progressing within a week or 2 once the plant is somewhere stable. 5 causes. 1 wrong assumption that keeps sending gardeners in the wrong direction. Before we get to how you actually diagnose which one is happening to your plant, let's clear out a few more myths that tend to make things worse rather than better. Myth 1. Yellow leaves always mean the plant is dying. Not true. A plant naturally sheds its oldest leaves as part of normal growth, redirecting energy to new growth. If you see 1 or 2 yellow leaves at the very bottom of an otherwise healthy, vigorously growing plant, that's often just routine leaf turnover, not a crisis. Chasing a fix for completely normal aging leaves wastes time and can lead to overcorrecting with fertilizer or water changes the plant didn't need. Myth 2. More fertilizer is always safer than less. It isn't. Over-fertilizing can burn roots and actually cause yellowing and browning at leaf edges, which then gets misread as yet another deficiency, leading to even more fertilizer being applied in a cycle that makes everything worse. Always start at half the recommended label strength and increase only if you see genuine improvement without any burn symptoms. Myth 3. Repotting immediately fixes yellowing. Sometimes it helps, especially if roots are genuinely crowded or sitting in old, depleted soil. But repotting a stressed plant that's already struggling with light change, pests, or nutrient issues adds a whole new layer of stress on top of the existing problem. Diagnose first. Repot only if the roots themselves are clearly the issue, like when you see thick roots circling tightly around the inside of the pot. Myth 4. Yellow leaves should be removed immediately for the plant's health. In most cases, a yellowing leaf that isn't fully dead yet is still contributing some energy back to the plant, even at a reduced rate. Removing it too early can actually slow the plant's ability to redirect nutrients on its own terms. Wait until a leaf is mostly or fully yellow, or clearly dying before trimming it away, and always trim after you've identified and started addressing the actual cause, not as a substitute for finding it. And here's one more thing almost nobody tells you plainly. Pulling every yellow leaf off the moment you spot it doesn't fix anything underneath. It just makes the plant look tidier while the actual cause, whether that's a nutrient gap, a pH problem, a light change, pests, or temperature stress, keeps working quietly in the background. Trim for tidiness if you want to, that's completely fine, but trim after you've found the real cause, never instead of finding it. So next time you see that first yellow leaf, resist the urge to immediately cut back on water. Instead, check where on the plant it's happening. Check whether the light has shifted recently. check the underside of the leaf for pests. Check whether there's been a temperature swing, and check whether this is simply a plant doing what plants have always done, letting go of an old leaf to make room for new growth. Your plant was never being difficult. It was giving you information the whole time, you just needed to know how to read it. If this changed the way you look at your own garden or houseplants, go ahead and hit subscribe, because there's a lot more of these hidden garden mysteries we're working through together on this channel every week. And let me know in the comments which one of these 5 turned out to be the real cause behind your yellow leaves. I read every single comment, and I love hearing which one finally clicked for you. See you in the next one.